Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 5, 18th of January 2024. Welcome to Kiwi Bike Browser. This evening we are kicking off with a new total 8,900 results for the 18th of Jan 2024. Pretty good going. Kicking things off, we do have a 650cc V-Strom 2023 model, relatively new. It's got all the aftermarket accessories one could ever hope for. Aluminium top box, side panniers, bash plate, crash bars, spotlights, and an extended top screen. This thing, ladies and gentlemen, is well kitted out for a 650. This is what I always recommend. If you're after a particular model of bike, what you want to do is you want to find that bike, but find that bike secondhand with the accessories on it that you want. And I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face, because you will not pay the full retail price for those accessories. Looks like pretty good tread on those tyres. It's got the center stand as well, bark busters, nice. It does has the spoked wheels, which is interesting, so I'm not too sure if the V-Strom 650, this particular model, has got a 19 or a 21 inch front wheel. Not entirely sure, but let's have a quick read through. So this one is currently sitting in Papakura, Auckland. Closes on the 1st of Feb, 9:33 PM. Only 8,000 Ks on it, and it's a 2023 model. That's pretty good going. Starting bid, 12 grand. Not the reserve bid though. Still, selling a full power, which means it's not LAMS approved, ladies and gents. DL650 XT. Daily commuter for 6 months, fully loaded with Kiwi accessories, including Kiwi top box, side panniers, engine guard, crash bars, spotlights, Kiwi airflow adjustable windscreen, Kiwi accessory bar on front screen to mount the GPS or phone, 2.5 litre fuel tanks ×2 mounted on the panniers. What? I didn't see those. Maybe those are the mounting brackets to the rear there. Yeah. I've only ever seen that on a BMW F800 GS is for sale. In Palmy it's got these little plastic tanks. But anyway. Heated grips. It's always good to go. Love me some good heated grips. Open to swaps with the jet ski. Oh, wow, why would you ditch a motorbike for a jet ski? Although I understand you can get a very fun vehicle on the water and not get told off for going too fast. I understand. Not too bad. $17,000 is a buy now. Yeah, it could be good going. I mean, look, it's got low Ks. It's a new model. And it has accessories for Africa. Not too bad. Not too bad. Moving on now, we have got a Honda GL1000 1976 model. I don't think I've seen one of these bikes before in the flesh. It must be an original model Goldwing. I do know that this engine here is a water-cooled 1000cc flat 4. From doing a little bit of reading up before this episode, found out that this engine was completely over-engineered, as it was one of Honda's first forays into 4-strokes. Interestingly enough, they over-engineered the living snot out of it, as the Japanese, well, as you'd expect them to do. And as such, apparently these motors will last forever, providing they're looked after. Apparently, one of the issues though you need to be aware of are exhaust system, first and foremost. The clutch, because the clutch is known to give out on these things relatively easily. It's just got a lot of power it needs to put out. And rust. Yeah, rust being a bit of an issue with non-galvanized equipment back in the 70s and 80s. But this one looks pretty good. Imported from the US of A. 36,000 miles on the clock, I'd say, not kilometers. Petrol, 1976, so it's good for the classic registration, surely. Very tidy. All alloy in good condition. Will have a new WOF and rego when sold. No indication of how many months with rego on the bike, but I imagine 12 months, being it's a classic. Get amongst it. This one is in Waitakere, Auckland. Starting price of 8 grand. I can see this one being quite popular. It's a good classic. It's a heavy bike though. You're looking at just shy of 300 kilograms. But if you can wrestle the beast, I'm sure it will reward you with plenty of years of life. Not a bad model. You don't often get these wonderful condition classics on trade like this. Well worth keeping your eyes on. Moving on now to a Suzuki Intruder VL250, definitely Lamb's approved bike, cruiser. If you need something with a low seat height, something that's easy to manage, something that looks not too bad, this one's good to go. Looks like I might have had maybe a couple of bashes on the exhaust pipe though, but it's a Luna bike. It's going to have some knocks and scrapes, but to be honest, this one doesn't look too bad. I have ridden a VL250 Intruder. It's not a bad bike. But at that point, I was already beyond kind of Luna bikes. Look, I tell you, cruisers are great Luna bikes if you're not too confident on bikes in general, or if you're new to bikes. The low seat height, the low center of gravity, the more relaxed riding style, like it's good to go. And this one, I mean, it does look relatively classy. It looks a bit more old school, although there's just, for me, slightly too much chrome accessories on this one. But I mean, that was the 2000s. I mean, you got to look at the what the BMW R1200C, was that it? 1200C. Yeah, like you only have to look at models like these that released in the late 90s, early 2000s, where chromy, flashy goodness was all the rage. I mean, just look at that. But that was the style of the time. It just came with the territory. One of these bikes is on my wish list to ride one day, particularly because of a James Bond film that I watched as a kid. Anyway, getting back to the Intruder, 14,800 Ks. This one in Auckland. Rego good until March. Definitely Lamb's approved. Not too bad. Scrape on the front guards. They've upgraded, so no longer needed. New battery. That's always good. Comes with a trickle charger. Fantastic. And custom pipes. I dare say, though, that these pipes, they look like straights. There's no silencer involved. There's no muffler. So it would be a... basically, let's just say, if you went to go for a Warren Fitness with these pipes fitted, they probably would not pass you. Just saying. Which is probably why they're off the vehicle for sale. Yeah, because they'd just be a little bit too loud, methinks. The only reason why I know this is because my first motorcycle I bought, being a CMX 250, the Honda Rebel 250 as a Luna bike, a 1985 model that the previous owner had decided to chop the pipes. And I found out when I took it to the local Honda shop that I would not be able to get a WOF without changing the exhaust, as well as fixing the front forks, which were pitted, as well as fixing the front headlight, etc, etc, etc. It was not a good purchase. I got stung hard on that one, learnt my lesson the hard way, as we say, but we make mistakes, we learn from mistakes. Ducati Panigale, I did see one of these, I think the 1299 model, is it? Or maybe the similar to this one. I did see one of these, of course the V-twin, not the V4, splintering around Manfield Racetrack on Sunday the 14th of January for the Moto TT Open Track Days, and it was fantastic. It just looked like a ball of fun, and this bike was out here, well, not this particular bike, but this model of bike was out there looking absolutely stunning and just ripping into the corners. Really cool, really fun. Definitely Ducati having a lot of racing heritage and putting out some of the best sports bike on the market. Not bad, although I'm not a huge fan of the track specific liveries and all that other stuff as well, but to be fair, I dare say this one is possibly fully set up as a track bike. But I mean, look, never ridden in the rain or a track, always keep covered with garage with Ducati cloth cover. I mean, come on. Anyway, $35,000 though. This is not for the light of wallet, one would say. So not my cup of tea. Skipping on now, we've got a few dirties in here. We do have a pretty old school looking Bonnie T140, 1979 model, 750cc. Little bit of rust on the rear brake, just surface rust. I'm sure that will clear off with the first ride, if you get this thing up and running. But man, can't beat a good Bonnie. They have maintained such a gloriously beautiful look. That is definitely an American plate though, I dare say. So this one must have been imported from the States at some point. There we go. Last rego in the USA, 1980. Bought it from an old boy who bought it new. He had it in his lounge. He has oiled it all over. Oh goodness. So it needs a good clean. It will need to be sorted and complied. We'll need new battery tyres, etc. Or they can do this for extra cost. I've polished the bike up since these pics post them tomorrow. Well, we might see some nicer photos of this bike coming up shortly. But if you can go through the vinning process, get it on the road, fantastic bike. $15,000 though, asking price. My goodness. Skipping on now to a Versus with no photos. Skip. Triumph Thunderbird 1995. I do love a good triple, particularly a 90s model triple that looks as good as this bike. Slightly cruiser orientated, but without forward controls for the feet as you'd expect strictly on a cruiser bike. These things just look cool in my mind. It's very well put together. It's the only thing that I'd say is a little bit flashy is the paint job. It's not quite my groove, but it does have a very 50s kind of street bike vibe of the era, if you catch my drift. But man, what a neat bike. Don't know if I'm a fan of the taller handlebars there. It's definitely a very Americanized British bike, if I do say so myself. But again, Triumph being with names like Bonneville, based in the States, does have a little bit of an American influence in some of the bike designs of the early days. Interesting. This one here, based in Whakatane, Bay of Plenty. Not too bad, 66,000 Ks, pretty high Ks. More on fitness until June this year. Not bad, no mention of rego, but has a new WOF as of today. So I guess because it's pre-2000, it'll be your 6-monthly WOF cycle. But hey, not too bad for $6,750 by now. I mean, yeah, you could go off and get yourself a Interceptor or a Continental Royal Enfield Lambs approved bike. But after that, you might be lusting for something a bit more classy, something with a bit more power and panache. A 900 triple, ooh, tell you what, it's got to scratch that itch. Moving on now to next bike. Now, we don't talk about scooters on this channel, but I have to talk about this scooter in particular. A Suzuki FA50, only because I have childhood memories of this bike. Childhood memory was that my stepdad had a Suzuki FA50 that he lent to me, being the tender age of maybe 9, 10 years old. My mother was working at a tomato orchard at the time, inside the glass houses, picking tomatoes. And as a wee kid, I would just race around between vineyards and all sorts of stuff, semi-rural setting up in the beautiful sunny Bay of Plenty, of course, during the school holidays, on this FA50, zooming up and down all day. It was heaps of fun. Perhaps that was what sparked my love of motorbikes. I am not too sure, but in all fairness, ladies and gentlemen, this was the first motorcycle I ever truly, properly rode. The mighty Suzuki FA50. Great bike. My one was, well, not my one, but my stepdad's one was red. Man, beautiful memory. I'd quite happily get an FA50 and chuck that in the garage. Get it nice, restored and looking lovely. It's got to be good for you, those types of endeavours and experiences. Anyway, moving on to beautiful, air-cooled 750cc V-twin Honda Shadow 2010. I had a friend, good friend, Marty, South African fella, who had one of these bikes, and he clocked up some Ks. Really cool bike. Big fan. This one's got crash bars, panniers, taller screen, looking pretty good. Definitely highly recommend it if you want a legendarily reliable and classy cruiser. Honda have put out some really good bikes in the past. Valkyrie comes to mind. The F6B is actually, I consider that a fantastic, cool looking bike. But the Honda Shadow, this particular V-twin, I gotta say, it does have a soft spot for me just because I've ridden with it so many times, being a shaft-driven, air-cooled V-twin. A little bit too much bike for me in terms of weight and size, but I mean, between this and a Boulevard, yeah, I'm picking this all day. $8,000, all-year offer, this one being in Waitakere, Auckland, 2010 model. How many Ks are on it? Come on, tell us. Rego on hold, WOF on hold. Yeah, is there a shot of the Rego? Speedo, rather. No. Please tell us how many Ks are on the bike. That would be much appreciated. Pretty standard fare when you list a vehicle in terms of information. The viewer slash potential buyer is generally looking for how many Ks are on the clock. At a guess, somewhere maybe over the 35, 40,000 mark. It looks okay, but we shall see. Great bike, $8,000 or near offer. I would be probably paying around 6.5, in all honesty. $8,000, a little bit too much, considering that Rego and Wolf are both on hold. Negotiate on the price for sure. If you're after a good cruiser like this bike, definitely haggle them down as much as you can. I think that's the end of our first page, ladies and gentlemen. I do not have it in me to go into page 2. It's just opening up a can of worms. But what I do have the effort for is to recap on the watch list for this evening. We're looking at a Suzuki V-Strom. I estimated that was sell for $4,200. I was wrong because the current bidding stands at $4,510 for the 1000cc model. Keeping in mind that there's not a huge amount of Ks on this bike. Considering what V-Stroms are known to do, I have seen the 650 model get up to over 150,000. This one at 52,000 Ks. Nothing wrong with the bike. Bidding continues until Sunday the 21st at 7:30. We might have to update our estimations, but if people are willing to pay that kind of money, I'm curious now. So, no more guesses from me. I was wrong. I'm happy to stay wrong just once, and then see what the market decides for this wonderful V-Strom in Auckland City. Heaps of views, 1,645, 162 watch listed. That's what happens when you $1 reserve a bike. Sometimes you get a huge amount of interest. Skipping on now to our Puch DS60, the Noddy bike. Still no movement on that one. Oh, not ideal. Battery saver mode is on, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have too much time left. Actually, no, we're fine. Triumph Bonnie. Oh, this one has been getting the bits. Glad to see. It is a beautiful looking bike. Well looked after. $10,000. I mean, you're still looking at not even a brand new Royal Enfield for that price, and you're getting a wonderful classic that's going to sweep in that generous 40-year registration cost in the next 2 years. Cash in on that, baby. Why not? A Suzuki Bandit. I thought this one was a pretty reasonable price, considering it is the 600cc model. It would be my preference over the 1200. Plenty enough, considering it's that air-cooled inline 4, similar to the Katana that I had, 600F. Yeah, good bikes. Definitely nothing wrong with them. Pack rack. I could fairly say that it's a reasonable asking price, but you could negotiate it down. Registration is good until April. Warrant expired 2 weeks ago, but heck, if you can negotiate in a new warrant of fitness if you buy this bike, why not? Suzuki Bandit 600 in Featherston, wide adapter. It's on the market for a wee while yet because it is a classified. Excellente. In terms of bikes that we have lost, if we just have a quick squiz here, because I'm curious now. This CBX 550F has been relisted, ladies and gentlemen. It is still a fantastic deal at a $5,000 starting bid. A beautiful classic bike. Well worth it. Add that one back to the watch list, I think. It's a wonderful bike. High Ks, but well looked after. Definitely get amongst it. The 750 Predator, which had all the bells and whistles, again is relisted, and I will stick by it that this is still fantastic asking price, great offering. It has the accessories for Africa. Come on, why wouldn't you? If you're after a CB750 or after a fantastic naked sports bike at the mid-range, spend the money, get this model. It's only got 2,000 Ks. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's it for this evening. Thank you for joining me on episode 5 of Kiwi Bike Browser, being the 18th of January 2024. I will see you next time. Good night.